All right, the recording has started.
Hi.
So start us off. Tosca, will you introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi, I'm Tosca. I'm the founder and CEO of Passionflix, and occasionally I direct a movie.
Woohoo! I'm Lauren. I'm the head of, director of development at Passionflix. I get to read a lot of amazing books that we get to turn into movies.
Right. And I'm Allie. I'm the director of marketing and public relations, and I'm the one having fun bringing you all the spoilers and trailers and everything else to go with that.
Exactly.
when Julio and I don't do it first.
Exactly. Poison Alley. That's my new nickname.
Poison Alley. I love it though. I also think it's hilarious, the spoiler woman, spoiler man thing. I think it's just so fantastic.
So funny. And your Poison Alley, great.
It's insane.
So this is exciting. So this is our first time really communicating with everyone through a podcast. All of us, of course, in our bedrooms.
Yeah.
So we all know what our lives are like.
Exactly.
And Lauren, how is this recording? Does this record as the 3 people in a row, or how does this record?
So right now it's recording with Allie and I at the top, and you, and it's like a triangle kind of, and we're all on our own screens with a black background, and so that's how it records these Zoom calls. Thank you, Zoom.
That's awesome. Well, that's exciting. Well, we're excited to address some of the questions that are always sent out, and have a conversation just about how life is at Passionflix and what we do. So I know Lauren was the one that was going to kick off our podcast. So go, Lauren. I'm going to sit here and drink my beer.
Wonderful. So we wanted this to be a chance to talk more about what Passionflix does in the specifics of turning books into movies, because it's a long process. And specifically, we were going to talk about Gabriel's Inferno today, and also treat it kind of like a book club, and so we could talk about our favorite parts of the book, and also some questions that come up in different reviews and different topic ideas about, why the book is so popular and why it's so loved by so many people. So I thought we could start out by generally talking about, what does the term romance novel mean to you? And you can start, T.
Oh, what does the term romance novel mean to me? Well, a romance novel to me is about 2 people, sometimes 3. my preference is the 2 people one. The 2 people that meet, and they both have their own lives. There's nothing that they're desperately lacking in any way, but they have their own lives. They have their own things going on, and when they meet, they have this instant connection, indescribable at times, and for some reason they just must see each other again. They must see each other again. They're drawn together, and then they're unsure about whether or not they can actually be together, because then they struggle with this vulnerability and fear, and then they communicate, and they realize that they have this connection is even stronger, and then they find that they just can't not be together, and then they're in love. Romance.
Yeah, I've always liked to think of it as 2 souls meeting, and the love story that goes with it. It's so beautiful, and that was so well put.
I don't think I have anything to add to that. You said exactly what it is.
And that's why we're here. We all love romance novels, and we love
that's how we bonded.
And that's why we're bringing it to the world in such a cool way. And on that, what does a company like Passionflix bring to the romance world? Tosca, what do you think about that?
Well, thanks, Lauren. Well, I think, firstly, I just want to say, we all bonded on that. And the reason why we all know each other and why we're all working for Passionflix is because we all have the same love of romance novels, and we all met in the romance community. That's how we know each other.
Yeah.
And because, and then Passionflix brought us together because you guys were fans of Passionflix, and then reached out and, and really wonderfully pursued me. I feel kind of flattered by that, actually. No, I'm kidding. I was like thrilled. I was like, oh my God, they like us. They want to hang out with us still. That's great. And so I'm very happy that we're all together, and all because of this love of romance novels. But you were saying, so what does Passionflix do? in that regard. So the goal of Passionflix is to take these stories that we all love, like, and we have a high respect for, and genuinely enjoy the story, and to bring it to life in the way that the fan wants to see it brought to life. So it's not about me at the end of the day, and it's not about whatever a distributor or an actor wants to do for a movie. It's, what does the fan want to see? How do we make this book into what the fan wants to see, into their imagination? So we work very closely with the authors to make sure that it's whatever they initially thought for the scene or for this character or for the look, for the clothes that they're wearing. If we match what the author thinks, then we're close to what the fan will, we're close to what the fan might imagine. Yeah. And so that's what we focus on at Passionflix.
And I love that. And that's a big reason why a lot of people have signed on to us and have been paying attention and showing such love through their subscriptions and through our founding memberships and stuff like that. They're just obsessed with how close we are sticking to the book itself. Because a lot of the times with adaptation in Hollywood, they take drastic changes from the book to the screenplay because they have to turn it into a much smaller nugget and something that will entertain people who haven't even read the book. So a lot of what people love in the story, sometimes it gets lost in that sense. So I do love how close we stick to the book.
Yeah, and that is the sort of special sauce, I guess, in Passionflix, is that because we are our own distributor, right? Because of the subscribers and the people that actually pay to watch Passionflix monthly and keep us afloat, and our investors that have given us money to make these movies. But because of those subscribers, we can release a movie at any length. Yeah. We are not beholden to any ad sales, so we don't have to cater to specific ads. And we also are not beholden to a network. So the networks often, they will say you have to have 45 minutes so that we have 15 minutes of ads, and you have to have all these time restrictions. And we're also not beholden to a foreign sales team. So a foreign sales company is the one that tells you who can be in the movie. They tell you that this person has value in the foreign market. We can sell this person in Germany and this person in France and this person in Italy. And you have to cast a lot of movies based on where they can sell this project for the most amount of money. And we don't have to do that.
See, and that's a great segue to my next little bit is Gabriel's part 1, which is our first part, releases on May 29th, which begs the question, how many parts will there be, aka how long will it be in total? And then can you talk a little bit about what it was like casting for this project?
Sure. So here comes spoiler woman, Allie. Watch out.
Sorry.
I'm like literally getting questions about this every day. So the movie itself is currently about 5 hours and 40 minutes.
So like an hour per 100 pages, basically.
Pretty much. It's actually about 2.5 hours per 100 pages. Yeah.
Wow.
But because the script was 200 pages long,
right?
And most scripts are 100 pages long. So we were just like, I'm not cutting anything. And then as we were getting in there and filming it, I was like, hang on a second, I feel like we're missing something from the book. Quick! And I would just add things during the day, and it's really awesome because Julio and Melanie were like, what's in the book? And then they would read it with me, and then Julio, who's the second language, would just memorize all this poetic Gabriel dialogue and film it. It was amazing. But anyway, so and now I've lost track of the question because now I was thinking about, there was that eating chocolate cake scene, if you remember.
Casting process.
Oh, the casting process.
Yeah.
So the casting process is always tricky. And Allie can attest to this because, we were in the office and we're casting Gabriel's Inferno, and everyone out there has their own idea of who Gabriel is. And we have a lot of people saying, it needs to be this actor, and we have to have this actor. And then I'm like, I'm struggling. I'm like, I don't 100% believe in that actor, but then, okay, fine. Well, I guess we'll see if this person is available and wants to do it. And then if that person comes back and says no, because that's the one that all the fans said, which is normally what happens, right? The first 2 or 3 people will always say no. And in this case, we went out to one person that the fans had all decided was the one to go out to, and this person came back and ultimately said no. And I was kind of shocked that this person said no, but also relieved, because
I was never sold on him.
no, because I was like, well, I don't really know if he's really the person for this, and so I'm kind of glad he said no. And then but then I start to get really nervous, right? Because if I get this wrong, there's very little forgiveness out there. so
you set the bar so high, T.
Yeah. But there's so much pressure, and I have a lot of, honestly, I have a lot of fear, right? It's a lot of fear as to am I doing the right thing when I cast a particular person in a role? And even though I have the author's backing and Passionflix people are around backing me, I still sit there and I go, is this person the right person? Is this right person the right person? And so when this one person passed, and we were sitting there, and I was like, we were relieved that this person actually said no, shocked, but relieved. At that point, I sat down with Ali and I was like, okay, we're just going to start looking through Instagram, and we're going to start looking at the other people that our fans are really suggesting. And we're not going to make any offers to any actors that aren't exactly who we want 100%. And that's when Giulio's name was presented to us. And then the interesting thing about him is that I emailed our casting director at the same time as his manager emailing our casting director, and both of us saying we want Giulio. I want to meet with Giulio. And then and then Giulio and I have this Skype phone call, and he's in Rome and I'm in Los Angeles, and we have this Skype phone call, at which point he'd already read the script twice. And loved it. And so when you speak to an actor, and this is really the telling point of casting, right? So when I speak to an actor who's read the script twice, and can tell me so much about the story and so much about this character and how they would do it and what it means to them to do this, you just immediately know this is the right person. And besides the fact that he's beautiful and he has the right look and all those things, he was deeply committed to this character. He felt that this was the character that he was always meant to play. And when he convinced me of that, and it was pretty much immediate, I came out and I said, I think we're going to cast Giulio. He's pretty fantastic. And that is also a risk, and I know I'm giving a bit of a monologue here, but it's a bit of a risk because Giulio is Italian and our character is American. And while Giulio worked very hard to present more of an American accent, his accent is still there, and he still has an Italian accent, but it's beautiful and it's soothing, and man, it is sexy. And you see Lauren's face
when he speaks Italian as Gabriel. It's just
yeah. I mean, it is yummy, right?
Oh my God.
Yes. Yeah. And even talking to SR said that they couldn't see anybody else as Gabriel. There is no other person. Giulio is Gabriel.
Giulio is Gabriel, and we had this conversation within the office and with us, and we have the option of hiring an American who can speak Italian fluently, which is very rare, or an Italian that can speak English fluently, which is less rare. And then so we went with the Italian who could speak English fluently, who looks the part, and who is deeply committed to Gabriel and this whole series and our community, and that's hard to find.
Yeah, he's such a good sport with everything.
So that was that one. And then when it came to Melanie, that was the harder one. Right. It's actually very hard to find female actresses out there that will commit to doing 3 movies back to back, 3 movies in a row, like over 2 years basically. And then also that would be willing to do some nudity. Now, while we don't do a lot of nudity, we do have nudity in our movies, and a lot of women will not do it. And, that's their decision. That's their choice. They're going to be they're going to show some of their body on a computer screen, and people sadly screenshot that and decide to save it. And not our audience, hopefully, but some other people do. And so it's always tricky to find a female actress that is willing to do subtle nudity, and also be excellent, and be exactly who you need for this role. Also embody the character. And so we found one person in Canada who I wasn't really sold on, and I had a Skype with her, and I was like, not really. I mean, if she's the only person in the world, I guess we have to go with her, but that's not who we want. And then just sort of like a random out of the blue, our casting director, Lindsay Chagg, who's done all of our movies, who's amazing, just said, I found her. She's in Australia. What?
You know, the far reaches. It's fine.
I know. I found her. She's in Australia. She's Julia. And I'm like, okay. And then she sent me her picture, and I was like, well, she certainly looks like Julia. Yeah. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I was sent some of her work, and I was like, well, and her work was all had American accent. So I actually had no idea she had an Australian accent at all.
Incredible.
Yeah. And then I Skyped with her, and same thing as Julia. She'd read the script a number of times. She'd already read the book. She read book 2 and 3 as well before we even finalized our deal. Deeply committed to this role. Knew it was her. Fought for it. Wanted this. And I also, because of that, and because of the way that her and I connected, and because of the way that Julia and I connected, and because of their deep commitment to this story and this role, I knew that the two of them would get along. Because they always, I mean, I'm sure, Ali, I don't know if Julia and Melanie have spoken to you about this, but they always talk about how it was just so surprising that they had such incredible chemistry.
Yes.
That they'd never actually even met, and then they did a Skype call, and they suddenly on the Skype call were like, hey, we really get along, we seem to have the same work ethic, we seem to both really care about this, and they did. I mean, they just immediately bonded and became these incredible friends, and now I think, as Julia and Melanie both say, it's like a friendship for life.
It was so fun getting to go and see them on set together too, and how much you could see they loved and supported each other through everything. It was really incredible.
Yeah. And they work all the time. I mean, those guys, they're so committed, and they really, they value this opportunity so much. And our fans, like, they really value the SR's fans, the books, the Passionflix fans, and they are perfectionists at their job. They really want to do an amazing job. So they don't take any of this for granted, and they don't take it lightly at all. They work so hard every day, constant rehearsals. Every weekend they take a day to relax. And then they work almost like at least like 4 or 5 hours on a Sunday before starting on Monday. They rehearse everything for the week. And they have the scripts memorized way before we even start, which is a lot. 200 pages of memorizing dialogue is a lot, especially when it's your second language, especially when both of them are speaking in unusual accents. It's hard.
Yeah. So you greatly enjoyed working with them on this. It was fun. A fun process all around.
Terrible. I hated them. After all that. No, I love it. I love them. All of the cast on Gabriel's Inferno are particularly fantastic, and I'm so thrilled that they joined us. And of course, I'm missing Julio, because otherwise he'd be here in LA, but he's in Rome.
Oh. A quick other question about the film before we jump into the book. Have you shown the first, like the cut of part 1 to anybody yet? Before it goes on Passionflix, do you show it to anybody?
Well, that's an interesting question, Lauren. Yes, I do. Well, so
Yeah, Lauren, who's seen it?
Yeah, the most important thing is I show it to I show it to the Passionflix team, and I can't actually move forward with an edit of a movie without Lauren seeing it, because Lauren is my she's my instant feedback monitor. That's my founding member in the room, pure passionista in every way. And seriously, Lauren, we're gonna have to film you watching parts 2 and 3. That's the other thing I did not say. It is actually 3 parts right now.
I never watch another movie without Lauren again. It's my favorite thing.
Yeah,
it's the emotion.
Yeah, we definitely got to record it then so that people can see. Because I definitely piss off a lot of my friends. Like if we're watching a movie for the first time together, I have to really hold it in. But if it's a movie that I haven't seen but they have, I'm like, all right, freak flags flying. I'm just gonna go for it and show everything that I'm feeling. And your movies make me feel things, Tosca. Jeez.
I do what I can.
Yeah. Lauren, real quick, what with your viewing of part 1, did you like Paul? What were your thoughts on him?
Paul sucks. I hate Paul. But I didn't like Paul in the book either. Not that he was a bad guy. He was a sweet guy. But the term rabbit just really annoyed me.
That's in the book.
I know. Meaning like it's not even an acting choice that was terrible. It was nothing like that. It was more just like some of his personality traits from the book and also in the movie. I just didn't enjoy as a person.
It's because you love Gabriel so much.
I'm Team Gabriel. I'm not Team Jacob.
I just had to bring it up because your reaction to him was so severe. Every time James came on screen, Lauren just got really mad.
So sorry. And I haven't even met him. Like this was the first set I didn't go on set to, so I haven't really met anybody. And it was funny to like feel such things for people that I hadn't interacted with, which is how, everybody goes into watching movies. You don't know.
What was your reaction to Krista Peterson?
Oh, she's, a bitch.
I know. And yet she's like the sweetest human being
she's
on the
such
planet.
a kind person. Yeah. From what I've been told. That's what acting is.
She's a great actress. Yeah.
Yeah, so I feel like this movie, from what we've seen so far, it definitely nails what a lot of the fans are gonna fall in love with. And that kind of leads into my next question of starting to talk about the book a little bit more deeply, and to first start off by talking about what our favorite parts, or just like if you have a specific part of the book that you think is a favorite part of yours that you were excited about, what was it? And Tosca can start and we'll go around the circle.
Me? Okay. Well, my favorite part of the book, I actually really like a lot of the stuff that I have to do with Dante and Beatrice. So I like anything that parallels the Dante-Beatrice relationship. And so anytime we got into that world, it got really exciting for me. And that was actually one of the reasons as to why SR let me adapt this book, is because I said that was one of my favorite parts, and that I would want to really bring that into the story. But yeah, so I like that. I would say that, the Dante and Beatrice stuff. How about you, Allie?
I have a lot of favorites. I think looking back when I read it the first time, and I think even after that, I love when he finally opens up about his past with Paulina. It's so, you really finally, you're wondering the whole time what's happening and who Paulina is, but when he tells you the story, it guts you. And it's something that I just remembered from reading it the first time, and then even going back, it's hard to read, but it's so good. And you get this glimpse into, why he is the way he is, and why he's so troubled. It's rough.
Oh my goodness, you're crying.
It's rough, man.
They truly are
like Lauren right now.
Yeah, they truly are two broken people that find and help fix each other, which is so crazy, and a part of what makes like this book and how SR is the master of slow burns.
Oh, beautiful, right? It's a gorgeous slow burn.
Gorgeous slow burn, almost frustrating at times slow burn.
Yeah,
like so satisfactory at the end when you read like that big conversation they have, and then subsequently their trip to Italy and just further connecting, and it's just so beautiful. But one of my other favorite parts, aside from that and the Dante and Beatrice stuff, well, to piggyback on the Dante and Beatrice stuff, is when she first has that moment at the like, she's leaving his apartment after he wakes up.
Oh yeah.
What are you doing here? And she's like, you told me to find you in hell, but
Oh,
And that's exactly where I found you.
Exactly
And you
where I
can
found
stay
you.
there for all I care.
Yep. So good, so great. And so then she ignores him, like, is such a badass female and ignores all of his outreach and is just like, fuck you, dude, like, I'm done. And it's not until she's back in class when they start having that banter in front of
Yeah, the
everybody.
fight, man.
That's one of my
Yeah.
favorite scenes. I was like, oh my God, like, I can't wait to see it in all its glory. But yeah, in the book, it's one of my favorite moments. It's great.
So that one, that's really interesting. So those scenes are two of the best scenes that we have in Gabriel's Inferno. The fight scene in the seminar room is so funny.
Yeah.
and I mean, the two of them are just like at it in front of everybody.
Yeah.
And it's like this this bitchy fight between these two people, but it's so funny in the right way that it's supposed to be funny. You know what I mean? It's like these two people just going at it in public while trying very hard to talk about Dante and Beatrice. You know, like, so it's very funny. And then Ali, I think you'll be super proud of Giulio's performance during his talk about Paulina.
I was going to say, just seeing him so far in part one and what he's brought to the character, I'm so excited to see that part. I mean, I'm sure he's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
It was so beautifully performed. He did a really great job, and Melanie, you know, just sat there because it's mostly him speaking, and she just sits there, and then, you know, she comes up to him, puts her hand on his tattoo, and it's very beautifully done. So I'm very proud of them for that.
Oh, my heart. And really quick, T, what has been your favorite part of directing this adaptation?
This meeting has been upgraded by the host.
Yes, good job.
I didn't even mean to do that. That's amazing.
Good, because I'm having too much fun now.
I know. I was about to be like, I have to start and stop this again soon. But no, we're good.
Move on. What was my what?
Your favorite part of directing this movie?
You know, it's an interesting thing. The favorite part of directing this, this is definitely the biggest movie that we've made for Passionflix. So in that regard, because we've put, you know, so much into this movie, there are multiple elements to me enjoying directing it. Besides the fact that it's a wonderful story, it's a story that we've all loved, and the actors are great, which I think we've spoken about a number of times. For this particular movie, we got to build all our sets exactly out of our imagination, right? So
for the first time,
Sorry?
For the first time, right? The first time we've had a soundstage and
exactly. And so I would basically, I was thinking like, this is how I picture Gabriel's home. This is how I see his apartment. We're gonna enter here. We have something in front of us. Then we're gonna go around the corner, and then this side is gonna be the office, and then we're going to have a guest bedroom and a guest bathroom, and then the laundry room, and then his room, and then we have to have a fireplace and the red chair and the living room, and then as I was seeing everything in my head, and then I would sit there with Tracy, who's our production designer, and I'd be like, this is how I see the room, and I'd sort of just sketch it on a piece of paper. On a piece of paper, and then hand it to, she'd take it to the art director, and they would build it in this model, and then try and see, like, actually the room can't be this big, we can't join this room to this room. It was like building a house, right, from scratch. We would literally build this house, and then Tracy the whole time, you know, looking at the Manulife building in Toronto and going, well, what kind of taupe is it? The walls have to be taupe, but taupe has many, many different colors. So like there are many variations of taupes, and then you start to figure out what taupe goes with the brown leather couch and the red chair and all the artwork and all these things. So it was just the being able to read something on a page, see it in your head and then actually create it
Wow.
was amazing. I've gotten to do that with actors before, where you can make your actors, perform, and it's like, playing with dolls. It's great. But now I actually got to build the Barbie doll house as well. So it was really great.
I've never seen anything like it, especially with Julia's apartment and the level of detail that went into that. I just
Julia's
never
apartment.
experienced anything like that before.
I didn't see any of the sets, but seeing what we saw in part one, like I couldn't tell that it was a set. That's how seamless it was. It was gorgeous and very detailed, like you said. Like, I'm sure Tracy had so much fun with you.
Yeah, we did. And so Julia's apartment was the first one that was built. So it was the first thing built, even though it was the last thing that we filmed, but we didn't know that. And so they just started building things initially. And so it was, so Julia's apartment with that little sort of cubby that they created, and the bathroom, and it was pretty incredible. Got to have everything in there, and it was so specific. Tracy, who I was a production designer, who deserves an award. I mean, she did an amazing job. But she would go through the book in such detail and go, it had mold in the corner. Okay, mold, there's the corner, there's the mold. And it had a radiator heater. Right? They designed and built that radiator. It's not a real radiator. They built it.
Wow.
And so each little thing, there was a crack here, there's something here. She made sure it was there. And so that was really impressive for that team. And so overall that was a very exciting thing to do.
That's awesome. And I'm sure that's one of the helpful parts of having a book when you're adapting so close to a book, is you can literally open the original text and just be like, oh, this is the detailed description of what the room looks like. Let's do that. Like, it's so helpful in that sense. It's great.
Yeah, it's helpful, but it's also a little bizarre at times, right? Because what you do is you'd sit there and you're like, okay, so it's like, as I said, it's a taupe ball and a blue this and blue curtains, and in your mind you're going, do these colors even match? Like, it's got to look good, right? Because sometimes in your imagination somebody might write taupe ball, but what they really mean is not necessarily taupe, or like what shade of blue, or what shade. And so it's trying to match all these colors so that it's not ugly.
Yeah, fair.
That's but awesome. Fortunately, SR is a great writer, and I think has taste.
Yeah. And Allie, what was it like getting to go and visit the set? Because you had to go for a lot of your marketing duties and stuff. Can you talk a little bit more about what that was like, and meeting members and things like that?
I loved it. I mean, it's so fun getting to go there and experience it, but the cast for this movie is just incredible, and I've made friends with a lot of them. And I think this is the first movie that I've been really, really in Passionflix for, because I started in August. So this is the first one that I was really a larger part of. And so being able to interact with the cast members and get to know them on a personal level has been amazing. But also, because I was already a fan of this book, seeing it come to life is just, it's insane. And it's also given me such a deep appreciation for what Tosca does. I don't even know where to start. So many things you don't even think about that go into filming these scenes, and how tedious it can be and how stressful it can be. But they truly, everyone that was a part of that cast, they're so kind and wonderful, and it's really interesting being able to watch them do what they do best and bring characters that I personally love to life. So for me, it was amazing.
Yeah, and it was really great for me to have you on set. It's unusual. So in the past, I've just not had too much sort of, I've always had Lauren and Margie with me on set, and so I've had that kind of support. But a marketing support or a PR support on set is very different, and I've never had that before. And so for those of you who know me at Passionflix, I'm very protective of our Passionflix bubble, and I'm very I'm a little bit controlling as to what we want to on how we want to present ourselves, because we want to make sure that it's done in the way that's so respectful of everything that we're doing. And then, so as soon as Ali came on board this, I was like, initially like, oh gosh, how's it going to be? but then I saw that she had the same respect and the same love and the same and just such an incredible knowledge on marketing and PR and how to work with these stories in getting them and exciting the fans about them, that I just have completely let go. And now I'm just spoiler woman, and I don't actually know what's going on in the PR world because I'm like, Ellie's got that handled. It's just so nice for
I love it.
For me in the, at Passionflix, because it's been such a I hate to say a one-woman show because it hasn't, because I've had Lauren and I've had Margie with me the whole time. So it's not even that at all. But Lauren,
you have a dual role though, that CEO/founder/director. It's a lot.
You're juggling a million things. Like,
Yeah.
The amount of times you'll be like, Lauren, do you mind helping me with this thing? And I'll be like, yeah, of course. And I'll jump in and start helping you. And I'm like, I'm sorry, have you been doing this on top of everything else? Like, I just don't.
Why are you
How
doing
is your
this
brain
again?
still doing this? It's mind blowing how you've done this so far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks. Well, and now I have you guys to help me. And I have, and so Lauren, who then last year was promoted, Lauren was my assistant, the best assistant ever. And now I've lost her to a promotion of director of development for Passionflix.
You shot yourself in the foot with that one.
Yeah. My life's over. Anyway, no wonder everything's going to hell now. No, but in the same way that Ali has been incredibly helpful and wonderful, and and she has this knowledge of our community and how to really present it to everyone. Lauren has that same knowledge when it comes to our books and the romance community. And so just as my little, praise on Lauren here, while I have lost her as my amazing assistant, she is excelling beyond any expectations as the director of development for Passionflix. And take this, babe. And but reading all these books and having the right respect for every different kind of genre, because she doesn't only get to read historicals, which is what her favorite is, but reading all the genres and giving really strong reports and ideas on each one of these authors. So as you guys know, for those who are listening, if you send in a suggestion to us to read this book, Lauren's reading it. She has a large TBR list, and she keeps thorough notes on all of them, and then she pitches them to us and to all of us at Passionflix. So she'll pitch them to me, but then she'll also pitch them to Ali, and Ali will pitch some stories to Lauren, and I get some requests, and then I immediately send it to Lauren, and it's a beautiful thing for me, and also I hope for Lauren and Ali to understand that the amount of freedom and appreciation that I personally have, and I think everyone who is a fan of Passionflix should have for the work that you guys do and for your contribution to Passionflix is way up there, because I wouldn't be able to do what you guys do. You do it better than me, and I appreciate that.
Oh, thanks, Steve.
Thank you. Awesome.
And a lot of that was from you, taking a chance on us and believing in us, and then giving us the opportunity to grow. Because yes, you are particular in things, but that's what's so great, is that we have a boss who we can go yes, no, and you give a very decisive answer. So then we can, moving forward, grow in a way that we then almost can guess exactly not what you're going to say, but it helps us anticipate and work as a more cohesive team to know exactly what you need and what the brand needs and what we want. And so it's very helpful. Sometimes I'll ask Ali, I'm like, can you market this book? And she's like, yeah, that shouldn't be a problem. And then I'm like, hey, what about this book? Do you like the sound of it? She's like, I love the sound of shooting there. Let's do it. And that's how fast it can happen sometimes.
That is,
this takes place in France. Do you think that's cool? And she's like, oh, I'd love to shoot in Paris. And I'm like, all right. It's so fun that because we are still such a small company and it's still such a startup way, all of the big, meetings and decisions happen so quick and just amongst us as a team, which is really nice.
I was going to say on the flip side too, because you two are more of the filmmakers and I'm on the marketing side, it's been fun for me to say, hey, I like this book, but would this actually work on screen? Because it's really interesting, the things you don't think about that totally would not work on screen or totally would. But I've learned so much just over the past several months doing this, and it's been really fun and
with the teasers too.
incredible
You've been
experience.
helping with editing some of the teasers as well, Allie, and that's a new process for you because you'd just watch Margie and Tosca do it and be like, what? I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I mean, the things I know the feelings that I want from a teaser. I can identify a great teaser and trailer, but there's so many little things that you just don't even realize you can do. And then it also helps, I've been in marketing for a long time. I've done ads before. But it's very different when you get to have the director of the film helping to make these edits, because you know what I mean? And Tosca came in and she says, oh, wait, this part, we can add this part in. And Margie can say, oh, well, how about we do it like this? And it just completely changed everything. And then it's really exciting. So now I'm learning a lot on that too. But
well, it's interesting though, because we have to, from a marketing perspective, if we want to jump into that. So Margie and I are there, we know how to make the film, and we're making, and we've very rarely had trailer editors come in and actually do anything for us, because we just haven't had the budget for that. And Margie's cut most of them and done an amazing job. But in this world where we're, putting out teasers and a little faster, using other editors for the first time, because Margie's still editing the rest of Gabriel's Inferno, so she can't step away from that. Never stops working. She has an editor suite in her house right now. And so, when it comes to the marketing, Ali will say, okay, we need 3 teasers and a trailer, and go. And then you're like, okay, well, I don't know what that means. What kind of teaser do you want? And she's like, okay, I want a teaser that looks like this, and I want a teaser that's this, and then even then it's a little confusing. So we have to sit down with her. This last time we sat down with her and we're like, okay, what do you want to happen? What is the feeling that you want? What is it? Because Margie and I can communicate in feelings, right? So we're like, how do you want to feel after watching this? And so Allie's like, I want sexy and I want viral. And I'm like,
yes.
All right, sexy viral.
But it was so cool that day, I remember too, because I'd seen a couple of the teasers that we'd put together, and they were all beautiful. There was nothing wrong with them, but there was 2 things. I wanted to make fans excited, people that are already fans of the book, but I also wanted to use this as an opportunity to reach a new audience, because I know that a lot of people that don't know this story will want to see the movie when it's out. So right after we had that conversation, Tosca and Margie disappeared for a little bit, and then Tosca came back and said, okay, this, and then we cut the first teaser that came out, which it was amazing, and all of you seemed to love it, and it did exactly what I was hoping it would do. And then if you take a look at the second teaser that we just put out, it's a little bit different. It's, the first one is very sexy, and then this one was more of that longing feeling and showing that romance, because that's also a very important part of the story. I mean, that's the most important part of the story, but it's a nice, I think it's a nice tribute to the fans of the book, because they recognize those scenes and they know it. And so 2 very different teasers.
Yeah. And then the same for the trailer. So we had that no one's seen yet.
People are dying.
And for a little while, but that's not me, that's Allie. Knowing me, I'll probably be like, hey, it's done, here we go. And she'll be like,
that's how we used to do it. We'd be like, the trailer's ready, let's release it tomorrow. And I'm like,
I know, exactly. That's how we've operated in the past. No, but this, but the trailer, so we were sitting there and of course we're all in our beautiful self-isolation quarantine world that we're in. We're having this house party conversation, me, Allie, and Margie, because this is how we're able to connect at the end of the day. And of course, the only reason why we know house party is because Lauren had a house party with her friends and then posted it on Facebook. And I was like, what is this miracle
This is also my
program?
first Zoom. Like the apps you discover when you have to work remotely, it's really quite beautiful.
Yeah.
It's still connected.
It is. This one works. We're sitting there and we're having our glass of wine at the end of the day and just chatting. And Allie's like, okay, we need a trailer. And we're like sort of going on like what trailers, and all these sorts of things. And then I was like, okay, how about if we do, and I can't actually tell you what we're going to do because then Allie will kill me.
But I would kill you.
Just in that conversation, we sit there and we just have this beautiful creative brainstorming ideas to how the trailer is going to work. And you have Margie like jotting down notes. All right, good. And she's going to hand these notes over to the trailer editor. And I'm like, okay, picture this. You're going to do this. And Allie's like, yes, that's going to work. Oh my God, it's going to be great. And so apparently it's going to be great, guys.
That's amazing.
Yeah, you nailed it with that idea. I'm so excited.
Oh,
but that's also, I mean, looking at it now, I can't imagine working on a trailer. I mean, I'm going to have to do it eventually, but it's so wonderful to be able to work closely with you on it because you know the scenes already. You're obviously very familiar with it, so it's so nice to have you be able to say, okay, we're going to pull this. Whereas for me, I've seen it a couple of times, but it's much easier and more efficient to work with you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there is something really great about, so I know all the scripts of every movie that we're going into because generally speaking, I've rewritten most of them, to be honest. I do a pass. I do a Passionflix pass on every one of them.
Always at your desk, yeah.
I'm at my desk for about a week each time, solidly into a pass of every script, no matter who writes the script.
Again, impressive. Like just
yeah, it's.
And that's it. And that's even for scripts that I take no credit on writing those scripts. The ones that I take credit on writing are the ones that I've actually done a complete overhaul on the script and I've worked on it for about a month. So I know these stories really well, and I know the actors because I've been heavily involved in casting, and then I see dailies, and I also, because I hire the director, I know what they're going to be like. And then because I oversee every single editorial pass of every movie that we do, so Margie watches them, she's our head of post-production, but Margie and I watch them together. I give my notes, Margie has the notes, they go and edit again, then they come back, and a couple of times the notes have just not been implemented well, and Margie and I have had to take over editing those movies as well. So we'll just take over, we'll re-edit the movie and then put it out. And that's happened a couple of times. And so even if I don't direct the movie, I know these movies really well because they have to hit a certain level for us to really have done the author justice and be as respectful as possible to the fans.
Yeah, and that's another reason why I feel like our brand has been doing so well and why fans have stuck by us is because we've tried to be consistent with being accurate and being what you've envisioned and respecting the original source material because we're here to do romance. Like that's all we're doing is romance from the romance novels.
Yeah.
We're not bringing in any original movies or anything like that. It's purely from the already vast library of amazing work out there. We're just bringing it to the fans. Yeah.
We're very fortunate in that regard. But so we should probably tap on some of the other questions that people have for us before, because how long we've been chatting now for almost an hour, haven't we?
Almost an hour, yes. So I thought we could move into some of the book questions. Okay. And the first one being just a general idea of why you think this book resonated with so many people when they read it.
Why do I think this book resonated? Well, I think, Allie, you're a big fan of this book. Why don't I let you answer this one first, and then I'll jump in.
So many reasons. It's so different than any of the other books. A lot of the other books that I've read. I think that the book, the going into Dante and Beatrice and tying that into everything, I remember when I read it the first time, I had to go back and I did my research a little bit because I didn't really know a whole lot. Yeah. And so that was really interesting for me. And I think
Did you read Dante's Inferno?
Part.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, I did. I started going into it. Yeah. So I think because the book was so unique and because the character of Gabriel, the first time I read it, I remember I had to put the book down for a little bit because he was irritating me, driving me crazy. but then I kept picking it back up because there was something that really drew me into his character. And then obviously you fall in love with him. And again, you know, it's one of the reasons that going into the Paulina part where he reveals everything that's happened, I really grew to love his character. And the same with Julia. You have these two beautiful, beautiful characters. And I don't find that often in a lot of books that I've read. You know, sometimes one or the other might irritate me a little bit more. I don't always love the heroines in the book, but with this, I thoroughly enjoyed the two of them. Even when he was driving me nuts, I really liked watching their journey throughout the whole story. And I just think it's been a different experience for me reading that than a lot of other romance novels.
Yeah, this one is definitely, we touched on it earlier, is the slow burn. You have to be prepared for this very slow burn about two people who are immediately connected to each other and you're not sure why, and they're not being so great to each other. But if you stick in there and you actually, you know, the beauty about romance novels is, you know, that we're going to get ourselves to an HEA, right? So you know that through these trials and tribulations of these two people, it's a very interesting meet cute, right? Because it's not, they meet when they're, you know, 17 and then, you know, when she's 23 again. And so it's this young love, let's see what happens 6 years later, right? I've had a crush on you for 6 years, and then the reality of it, and then you're like, how am I going to deal with the reality of this crush that I have? Because he's not very nice. And
he's horrible.
but you know, the beauty of it is, you know, and I sit there and I'm like, well, everybody is not innately horrible, right? There is some underlying reason as to why he is acting this way. So
which is why I could keep picking the book back up.
Exactly, because you're just like, especially the first time she sees him, she goes to his office and there he is like crying, and he's like holding his head, and he's like, you can just see he's like in gutted pain, and you're like, what's going on? Why are you so, you know, there's definitely something about you. You're not just this cold facade. You're actually this deep human, and we must know more. But yeah, you have to be prepared for the slow burn on this one, because it is a slow burn, but it draws you in, and then you get sucked in, and then you're unable to put it down. So it's the same with the book. It's like, I mean, the movie is, as I said, 5.5 hours long. So it's a long, slow burn, but you guys have watched the first 2 hours.
It flew by. It does not feel like 2 hours.
But it has everything in it, you know, it has all the nuggets that you want from the book.
It would be impossible. It would be impossible for me to put this movie and all the feels that are in the book into 1 2 hour movie.
It would have felt too rushed. It would have felt too rushed because it's such a slow burn. So I'm so happy we did it, and I loved part 1 so much, and I think you were absolutely evil for how you ended it, but
no spoilers.
Evil. No spoilers, but
evil. But you're gonna love how I end part 2 though.
Oh, I can't wait. We haven't seen that. Oh God. Oh no.
I know.
I don't know how much. Here's the thing: is that I have to show you guys part 2 and 3, but I have to see your reactions so that I know that I'm on the right path. And yet we're all in this strange isolation. So we're gonna have to like put it in a
keep
room.
Zoom on us.
Really, I'm gonna put you in a room where everyone's gonna be like 6 feet apart at least. Oh, yeah. And then we'll just do that.
Let's do that.
Or I'll record I'll watch it online and I'll record my Zoom reaction and send you that video.
Exactly.
I just want to record your reactions anyways, Lauren. So
I know.
Well, that's you guys touched on great points as to why this book has resonated with so many people and why it went so viral, in that it really was that slow burn that you could get into, and it had such pained but beautiful characters that you're just like, oh, why I can't not feel attracted and attached to you.
Yeah.
And
I want to touch on another thing about it. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Lauren.
Go ahead.
But so one of the things that I found really fascinating about Gabriel's Inferno was the interpretation of those who read it. So we were looking at a number of different producers to come on board to make this movie with us, and a lot of male producers actually pitched themselves to produce this movie for us. We do have a wonderful male producer at the end of the day, but it was interesting when these producers came on board and they're like, we want to make movies for Passionflix. What movie do you have next? And I would say, okay, well, here's Gabriel's Inferno. This is the one that we really want to make next. So I need you to read this and let me know your thoughts on how to make it. And a lot of these producers would come back and go, we can't make this movie, not in today's environment, in the Me Too movement. There's no way. This girl is this rabbit, this demure rabbit, that's completely crushed by her professor and seduced by her professor, and all these things. I was like, what are you talking about? How are you reading this novel? This novel is not about some crushed human being who is completely manipulated by her professor. That is not what the story is about at all. She is, in fact, her own person. She is somebody who met a guy when she was 17. He was not her professor at the time, but she did have a massive crush on him. And then she ended up in his class, not intentionally, but ended up in the class because he developed this love of Dante and Beatrice at a young age. And she had studied Italian and she'd studied the arts, but she had a strong, she has a strong personality and a determination to become very successful professor in Italian studies.
She got into Harvard,
She got into Harvard. Yeah. Exactly. The girl's very smart.
And she wasn't doing it with the intention to follow him and find him and meet him again. No. It was just, he inspired this story that he told, and she's like, wow, I'm fascinated, and then delved even deeper, spent a year in Italy,
But at the same time, she'd gotten involved in a very, very bad relationship.
Yes.
And a very abusive relationship that she eventually was able, and it happens, right? You get into these abusive relationships and you get beaten down and verbally abused and physically at times. And she still got out, and she was still a person inside. She still had a goal. She still had her plan to go. She was not broken by that.
Yeah.
She
had a light inside. Yeah.
Because she has an incredible strength. So the fact that anybody would read these stories and then think Julia has no strength or she's weak is just, it blows me away. And I was like, what? She's one of the strongest female characters that I've worked with, because she's had to go through so much. Look at her childhood, look at the abuse, look at the lack of attention from her father, the complete abandonment from her mother, then the relationship that she gets in. But each moment, each time somebody does this to her, she just picks herself back up and she keeps going, and then gets up and she's like, I'm still going to keep doing my thing. I'm still going to keep doing, no one's going to stop me. No one's going to stop me. I'm going to get there. And even when Gabriel comes in and he's like, that's it, and he treats her poorly, she's like, boom.
Yeah.
We're done.
Mm-hmm. We're done. This is not passiveness. Like, a lot of men will come in and read her sweetness and her angelicness that is talked about so much as passiveness, when that is the opposite.
Exactly.
Completely. Yeah, I completely agree.
She's very, angels are strong.
Mm-hmm. They're some of the more powerful creatures in the universe.
Yeah.
If you believe in that, it's exactly.
Yes.
No, I love, and that's exactly why this book has resonated with so many fans, particularly women, because we see those things and we hold on to it, and we're just like, yes, she's a strong character, and I've seen my own struggles, or you can, a lot of book lovers and a lot of romance lovers particularly really love the books that they find a connection to. Like, Allie, you said you had a hard time reading this because maybe you didn't relate to her the best, or you didn't, or no, she was fine, but other books you've read, sometimes you don't relate to the heroine as much, so you've put them down or something like that, which happens a bunch. And that's one of the beautiful parts about this, is that you can almost find a piece of yourself in her, similar to how like Twilight books had such a reflection for women, and subsequently 50 Shades of Grey, women were able to find like little bits of themselves in the heroines there, which is why they became so popular. So this book kind of continues with doing that. And I thought we could talk a little bit more about certain tropes from the romance world that are in this book.
Okay.
because while there are connections to the other stories like Twilight and 50 Shades, there's also just flat out tropes in general that it follows, like kind of the enemies to lovers story, because even though they have a past, they do start out butting heads and then they fall in love. And so that's one of the tropes that I found that I'm obsessed with any romance novel is enemies to lovers. That was fun for me. Were there any?
Same here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you see that in like Pride and Prejudice, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
This is a very Pride and Prejudice story with a hint of Romeo and Juliet, which is a little bit more like the Twilight feel. Like, I can't be with you. We're from the other side. Like, you just can't be together for whatever dangerous reason. You can't be together.
Yes. Yeah.
So, because there's that added element. So it's not just I'm your enemy and and then we come together. It's also we actually cannot be together. It's dangerous.
Exactly. It's the self. I can't pick the word. It's not harming, but not depreciating. Just I can't think of the word, but like an alpha male who is like, you can't be with me because I'm broken. That trope is in a lot of different romance novels, and Gabriel definitely fits that bill of just thinking that he's too impure. He's done too many impure things in his life that he can't. How could he possibly have the love of this kind person, generous person? Like, he doesn't deserve it. So that was a big part of it as well. And another Dante and Beatrice, obviously, another comparison there, which is brilliant. Yeah.
Yes, but he does, once he realizes who she is, he will not let her go.
Yeah.
He actually, he doesn't fight it and say, he does say, I'm not good enough for you, that's for sure. But he also says, I cannot be without you.
Right. And thank you. That is why at the very end, when he finally tells his story about Maya and Paulina and all that, why he opens up, his immediate fear is I didn't want to tell you any of this because you're going to leave me.
Yeah.
And that'll break him. And I'm just like, oh,
I know.
Yeah, it's too much. It's crazy.
And then once again, her strength is there for the two of them, where she comes in and she's like, no, ultimately this just brings us closer because you know the truth.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So, and jumping not away from tropes, but one of the tropes of romance novels, or tropes are just almost like a requirement for romance novels, is to have those intimate scenes, those sexy moments. Some have them more than others, like erotica is almost all sex, whereas like Pride and Prejudice, there's no sex, but it's still a romance. This book definitely doesn't have sex until the very end.
Until the end.
It's a very slow burn up until the end. And would you say that sets it apart from other romance novels in certain ways, or how did you guys take reading that when especially with our other adaptations of books we've done before, they've had a couple of other scenes, and part of those scenes are what bring the characters closer. And in this sense, it's more of them getting to know each other as people before, and then this was the ultimate. If that makes any sense.
Yeah. Well, I don't. It's a romance novel, in the same way that Pride and Prejudice is a romance novel, as you said, and 50 Shades of Grey. But to me, for any one of those books, it's actually not the sex scenes that draw me in or make me that excited about it, because it's normally the intense chemistry between the two characters that keep me excited. So it could be the longing look that burns through her soul and makes her feel all tingly inside, just as much as his kiss that could do that. But a lot of these books, so even if they don't have sex scenes, they'll have a lot of these. They describe the chemistry reaction, the chemical reaction between the two, which helps me get through the book pretty quickly. How about you, Ali?
Yeah, I was just gonna say those I love some steamy scenes in my books, but the slow burn, and then when you finally get to the end where it happens, it's just, it makes it so much more beautiful.
And he takes her virginity, but he does it in such a sweet way,
beautiful way
for someone going into it. It hit me in the historical romance feels, because I was like, this is how they do it.
It's
almost all of the women in those stories, or like not all of them, but the majority of the stories involve virgins, because you didn't have sex till you were married. It was like sex was a very taboo thing in those books. So the second it happened, he was like, oh shit. Or he'd be like, we have to be careful because
Yeah.
you're a flower and all that stuff. And they'd be like, whatever, just make it good.
Yeah.
But that was really nice to see that SR really took care of those characters and took care of that.
And Gabriel delivers
And
at the end for her first experience.
It was beautiful.
Yeah, seriously, right?
It was really, like,
It's
he massages her and they take a bath together, and it's just
So-
awesome. Like,
Listen, can I tell you how hilarious it is? So here I am directing this movie and this sex scene, and let's just really hope that I actually did it justice, because you it's built up so much. I'm like, oh my god, the pressure.
no, I'm sure
It's gonna be amazing.
it's gonna be good.
It took us a long time to film that sex scene, so you know.
See?
But
Already.
what's so funny is that, and I just love boys, you know, in general. Julio, who's sitting there, he's like, "Why is there cranberry juice and ibuprofen and KY and all these things?" And I'm like, "Oh, honey, let me explain to you what this is."
Yeah, wow. No, the cranberry juice and the ibuprofen was like the cherry on top. I was like, wow, this guy's done his research.
Yeah.
Oh, poor Julio.
I know. It was, he's like, "What?" And then of course I was like, oh, now you have to go and get a damn cloth from the bathroom and bring it to her. Why am I bringing a damn cloth?
That's very historical
Honey,
romance novel.
You're bringing a damn cloth. You're doing the damn cloth. Go and get a fucking damn cloth.
No, it's perfect.
oh god.
That actually inspired, that actually brings me up to a good question of or just an overall thing that has happened when you direct movies, Tosca. Is we like to call it Tosca School for Gentlemen Callers, I think it was.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, can you talk a little bit about what it's like working with some of these male actors and them learning a lot from you through the romance?
Yeah.
Like just some of the lessons that they've taken away from you, or
Well, I think we should probably bring on some of the boys, I say, the men, I guess, to talk about this.
We should.
But you know, it's really interesting because I cast a lot of guys, and when I meet them initially, they have this beautiful, naive arrogance about them, because they're all so gorgeous, and they're like, "I know what a woman wants," and I'm like, "That's cute." Anyway, listen, you're going to do everything that I tell you, and you're not going to question it, and you're just going to do it because this is what it's going to say in the book. And so it's very specific. I'm like, you will get the cloth, you will pour the cranberry juice, you will do these things. I'm like, why? I'm like, because, and then I have to explain it to them. And it's really interesting when you see these guys, they like have this beautiful cocky attitude about their, you know, their effect on women and their knowledge of women and things like that. And then as I start explaining the various things that women need and why we're going through all these motions, their whole, it's like a cloud lifts and they're like, what? Wow. Oh. And it's great. And then they just learn. And then suddenly they have the the next time we do it, they're like, oh, should I pour the cranberry juice now? And we're like, oh, you being all like ready to pour the cranberry juice, as an example. But
yeah, like that example.
But many other times it's mostly about conversation, right? So a lot of men that I work with haven't really had to do very many long emotional scenes with women, right? Where they talk and share emotions and share their feelings. Right. And a lot of the times they'll actually look at these lines with our alpha men and they'll be like, I can't say these things. This is very aggressive. Yeah. And then I'm like, don't worry, the girl's going to give it right back to you. Mm-hmm. Because that's who we are, right? We're not going to be, don't be scared of how we're going to react, or don't be scared of being this alpha guy, because we're going to react in an alpha woman type way as well. But we're going to communicate and we're going to share our feelings and we're going to demand that you share your feelings. And I'm going to tell you why you're going to share your feelings. And it's not because you're trying to appease a girl or trying to get in her pants. You're actually going to share your feelings because you finally get to share your feelings. Yeah. And it means a lot. And it slowly but surely gets this woman to pay attention to you. And that makes you even more excited to share your feelings. And so, yeah, so almost all the guys, I don't think there are any that haven't, but almost all the guys that have worked with me have gotten into incredibly serious relationships, if not married, right after working with me.
Yeah.
Thank you. All the women can be very happy to, thank Passionflix.
No, those are some of my favorite stories, is hearing how they're doing, 5 years later, how are you doing? Not that long, but it's cute to see whether they come to a different premiere or things like that. They're like, oh, by the way, like, this all worked out. You just did great.
Exactly.
It's fun. It's really cute.
It's nice. I think that the romance genre gives us, especially with me as a director and everything that we do at Passionflix, but the romance genre gives people the freedom to be able to to voice their emotions at any time, right? Because we validate all emotion. So if you are sad, happy, quiet, loud, that's not really emotion, but if you're whatever emotion you're feeling, angry at something or happy at something, we want to know about it, and we want you to express that, and we want you to tell us everything about that situation. And we will sit there patiently and quietly and listen. And it's really important that we teach people that.
Yeah, I love that. That's awesome. We've actually hit a lot of the questions that I had for the book. We've just done it through our conversations, which is brilliant. I will bring up a question just so that you guys answer it, because I've sort of already answered it. If you're team Gabriel or team Paul, because apparently that's been an online debate before. Which team you're on. I'm clearly team Gabriel, because Paul, you're a sweetie, but nah.
Oh.
What about you, Allie?
I mean, team Gabriel. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I still want Paul to find the right girl.
He does.
He does. So that's awesome. I need to read the next book. It's on my list.
You gotta root for Paul, but
that's fair. Paul's a sweetie.
Yeah. Are those the only two that I get to choose from?
Who else did you put on the list, T?
I guess I'm a team Gabriel.
I don't sound so sure about that.
No, I mean, I don't know. I kind of like oh my gosh, now I'm forgetting everybody's names, but I'm like, because I'm remembering the actors' names as opposed to
we'll say them and we can help, unless it's an actor that you haven't met yet.
Richard Clark.
Allie.
Dad.
Allie.
Oh yeah, he's yeah. How can you not be?
That's totally
exactly. So it's like going for the solid, dad type character that's there. Really
good man. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like you not taking sides, Paul or Gabriel.
Yeah, no, I can't. I know. Sides. Are you kidding? I
totally fair.
We're like, I'm sorry. What I meant was your dad.
Yeah.
I love it.
Hang on. So what about our previous movies? And we'll do previous movies and then future movies. I know Alex was Team Jesse for sure.
Oh yeah, Team Jesse. That's fair. Future movies. Wow.
You're Team Jesse?
Oh yeah, of course.
For the first.
Yeah. That's I'm thinking of past movies.
I know with the Will, I really love Jake. He's great.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Jake was a pleasant
super
surprise.
recent one. I also loved Ian in Matchmakers. He was fun.
Oh yeah.
I
would say I'd be Team Clay Kincaid.
Yes, Team Clay. Oh my God, David. Why did I forget?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love Clay. Clay's amazing.
Or Cole.
I was gonna say Cole. I love Cole.
Yeah.
And you really loved Hollywood Dirt, because one, it was the first one you filmed, but also you got to throw a little bit of period in there with having the movies be from was it 40s or 30s?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I was very happy to do a period, the 3 days of period piece filming that I could do. But yeah, hopefully we'll get to a period piece for Passionflix. But yeah, that was great. It was my first baby, Hollywood Dirt.
And on location in Georgia, which is very fun, because that's one of the other things we try to do is if we can, we film on location where the book takes place, which is why it was Syracuse for Gabriel's. Can you talk a little bit more like why the locations became what they were and that?
Well, so Toronto obviously takes place in Toronto and Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
We can't shoot in both locations, and it's really hard for us to actually go to Canada. Sometimes it's very expensive, and I can't take a lot of my US crew with us, so I wouldn't be able to take my production designer or Dennis or my editor, because you have to hire a lot of locals. And our producer for this one was from Syracuse, and so Syracuse has a lot of the same weather as Toronto and Pennsylvania, and we could shoot both locations there. So that's why we went to Syracuse.
That's awesome. And did you guys also shoot in Italy?
And then we shot in Florence, Italy. Yes, exactly. And which was great. And then we'll shoot again when we are able to come back from this wonderful isolation time.
Woo!
And we're able to go to Italy. We will shoot the remainder of Rapture, the beginning part of Rapture, which takes place in Italy, which is what we haven't shot.
Amazing. And so I'll quickly ask Allie, and then I'll ask you, T. What do you think fans? What do you think fans will enjoy from this adaptation? Like, what do you think the fans can be excited about with this upcoming release?
I mean, other than the fact it stayed so true to the book, I think watching the chemistry between Julia and Melanie just burn the screen up. It's wild. I think it's going to be fun for everybody.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, they really are good. I'm really happy with everything that they brought to it, and I think for me, I truly feel that we plucked this from SR's imagination and were able to put it on screen. And for me, I'm just so happy that was their response to the movie so far, was that it, at one point they said, it's like you took it from my imagination, and that's one of the biggest compliments that I could have gotten. So I really hope that it's exactly what everybody else pictured in their heads.
Oh, that's brilliant. I mean, as
it was for me.
Yeah, it was for us so far. So I think the fans are really going to love it. And to bring up SR, because I feel like, well, we've talked about the book quite a bit and about the Passionflix process quite a bit, and you've mentioned how working with authors very closely is really important. I know on past sets, we've had the authors even come and be on set. And with Jody Alamalpis, with The Protector, she was with us every day, which was fantastic. And it was great for, like, on the fly, if you had to be like, okay, that's not working. Jody, what do you think? Or like, what did you mean here? Like, you had the direct source. What was it like with SR, and how there's all this mystery behind who they are? And what was it like working with them on this? Yeah, him on this, her on this.
Well, them, yeah, we don't know male or female. It was great. I mean, it's a little different because on the other ones I've had the author directly next to me, so I could, if there was a question I could ask. But SR was generally always available via email, and so I would, take pictures of the set. I would send little bits to them, and they would respond almost immediately. If I had questions about a scene or a look, or do you like this pillow or whatever, I don't think I ever said that, but basically, does this artwork work for you for Gabriel's bedroom? Do you like this artwork? Did you have this in mind for this artwork? What did you have in mind for these photos? All these questions I just sent to them, and they responded with, these were the inspiration for the pictures. This is the artwork, and in my mind, this painting went here, this painting went there, this painting went there. So they always responded very quickly and very clearly as to what they wanted. And if I needed to adjust anything for whatever reason, which may have happened once, and I think it was where a painting went, honestly, I immediately came back to them and said, I'm sorry, I think we were confused as to where the painting was supposed to go. I thought it was on this wall, but it's going on this wall. And he was like, oh, actually, it might be on this wall, it might be on that wall, but in my mind it was here, but that's going to work. So they were very, very quick to respond and very positive in their response, and really seemed to like everything.
That's awesome. That's really great.
Yeah, great.
And subsequently, Allie, with marketing it and stuff like that, what was it like interacting with SR, with Tosca and all of that?
Amazing. Everything's been amazing, and quite honestly, getting to market this, being a fan of the book, has just been a dream. like Tosca said, SR is always available and very responsive, and SR's publicist Nina is amazing.
Oh, she's
Both
great.
of them, yeah, she's wonderful. They're so pro Passionflix that they want to help in any way they can. So it's been nuts, and we don't have these multi-million-dollar budgets to play with, but because the community of fans around this book help spread the word so well, and SR, everything we put up, SR will promote. I mean, SR even promotes our other movies. When The Will came out, they were, there's so much love for us from them. But marketing this has been, I don't want to say easy, but the fans are so dedicated that when we put things out there for them, they are so quick to spread the word, which can also be hard when images slip out that shouldn't slip out. Because then when you try to get them taken down, I mean, something can be up there for a second and it has already gone viral. Thanks a lot, Julio. But it's also tricky because every time we have something, I want to keep putting more and more content out there, but you also want to make sure you save some of the magic for the movie. And as much as we all think we want to see everything, I swear we don't. You want to keep some of it.
It's amazing to see it in its final form, which is why it's a painful wait, but it's worth the wait in the end.
So worth the wait.
And just on that, anybody that's listening to this now, I mean, it's not like the movie's finished, right? So while everyone's watched this 2-hour version of the first part, everybody still watched it right out of the edit suite. So the sound is not done, the music's not done. All of these things take a lot of time to finish a movie. So that's why we're not able to release it right now. Everyone's like, can we release it now because everyone's at home? And unfortunately, no, it's still not finished. It's only going to be finished. We don't hold on to movies. We release them as soon as they're done. So as soon as this one's done, we will release it, and the same with the part 2 and part 3. But it will take long. It's a longer movie. It's a longer process to make a longer movie. So bear with us. We're trying to do this entire movie justice and the whole story justice by doing it correctly.
And Tosca, a couple of fans did ask, and I think you can go ahead and confirm, they asked about parts 2 and part 3 and if they would be released this year.
Yes. Oh, part 2 and part 3 of Gabriel's Inferno?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, parts 2 and part 3 of Gabriel's Inferno will be released this year. The hope is that they will be released about a month apart. That's how long it'll take us to finish each part. But please keep in mind that each part is the same length as a feature-length movie, a normal Avengers type movie. I mean, they're big movies. And the fact that we're working really hard, like literally around the clock, some people, just so that we're able to release 3 feature films in 3 months, it's pretty insane. It's a pretty insane schedule. So I do ask that we try and be a little understanding if it's 4.5 weeks or whatever it is, especially because we're all now working in an isolation world where we're not able to work speedily together. So we have to show work, send it, give notes, send it back, and it just takes a little longer. But we are working on it, and it will be released as quickly as possible this year. Yes.
Which I'm sure everyone will appreciate, because nothing is better than having little moments of escapism now. And our movies definitely provide that, which is nice. I had a lovely email from someone earlier today, and I meant to forward it to you, T, and I'm sorry I didn't. But someone emailed about The Will and said, I just finally, caught up on my Passionflix movies and saw The Will. And she's in Australia. She's 68. The country's been closed, and she's, freaking out, and she's worried, and she's had pneumonia before, so she's worried about everything. And she was like, I'm isolating and all of that, and so I'm fine right now, but watching this movie made me forget about everything. And that was really great. And it was such a beautiful little note that she sent us to thank us for everything that we've been doing. And she's a founding member as well, so she was very grateful.
That's beautiful. That's a lovely note.
I will forward it to you so you can read it as well. Yeah.
Thank you. And Louise Alston, she's the one that directed that movie, and she did an amazing job. So.
It's been very incredible that you've found like great screenwriters for these movies, as well as great directors for ones that you can't make yourself, because you can't do everything. Can you talk? I know.
She tries.
You mentioned asking people to be patient, especially with Gabriel's, and how it might take a little bit more time already. And I think people forget this because it's been said, in the live here and there, but it's sometimes forgotten how fast we are working compared to how the rest of Hollywood operates. Like the year time spans between the 50 Shades movies and the Twilight movies, even like long spans of time between those releases because it takes time to make a movie. Can you talk a little bit about what some of the process is and why it takes so long and what your process is with finding screenwriters and directors? It's a 2-part question to you, just to make you talk more.
Wow, it's going to be a 2-hour podcast.
So the first one.
So so finding the writers and directors are very tricky. It's hard, right? You have to find a director. You have to find a writer that is willing to not rewrite the story. I need them to adapt a book, and I need it to be adapted exactly how it is. And I don't want your version of it. I want it to be the book. And so that's hard. It's hard to get writers to understand that. They will try and adjust things in a scene by making characters do things that are not actually what's in the book. And fortunately, I read it, I'm like, I don't think they do that, actually. That doesn't seem like within their character. And then when you question the writer on it, they're like, oh, well, I was trying to get across that this place is sleazy, so I made him do something sleazy. And I'm like, but he's not a sleazy guy. Yeah. So you've just made him sleazy, not the place sleazy. So we have to adjust. And so it's a very, it's an interesting direction to give them. But once they get it. And then they're like, oh, it's as simple as that. It's as simple as just transferring this book into basically a screenplay format and making sure that we are showing the intention and the action behind everyone's motive. So a lot of times in the book, we will show consent, right? In the book, you'll see consent all the time, but in a screenplay, they won't write it. For some reason, they skip over that part. We're so used to men just taking them. And if you have an alpha male and he's just going to take a woman, and you don't write, and she leans into him, that's a problem, right? Now you're reading it as an aggressive, very alpha male story that's
not two people meeting equally.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So once you get the writer onto that path, and then it's great. And the same with the director. The director comes on and they want to make the story their own story. They want to put their own spin on how the story is going to be. They want to know how much leeway do they have in dialogue, in improv, in clothing. And my response to them always is none. None. You have it written there. You're hired to do this script that we approved. You have a lot of input in how you direct these actors, how you can convey the chemistry, the shots that you choose, the beauty that you choose. Louise, her shots were beautiful, and the chemistry between those actors is incredible, and how she directed them in their intimate moments, beautifully done. But she will wear a green dress to that dinner, and she will have her hair up, and then it will come down. And it'll be very specific things that are noted in the book that will happen in this movie, and it will not be any different. Mm-hmm. And though if you can follow those rules, you can direct for Passionflix. And you must show consent, and you must show our alpha male, and we must show the chemistry, and you will stick to the dialogue that's in the book. And if you start improvising or feeling that your dialogue is better than the author's dialogue, I will cut it out of the movie, as I have done every other time. When there's improv, I'll just cut it out of the movie immediately. And I'll make them redo it, or I'll come to set and I'll say, no, you actually aren't a better writer than our author, so you don't get to make that decision. And so that's how I am with my directors.
But I do love that you take, on the filmmaking side, it very seriously, that there is not a lot of representation for women working in film. We're slowly and surely getting better at it in Hollywood. But I love that right from the get-go, and especially with you being at the helm, it's taken on no, we're going to give females as many jobs as we can on our sets.
Oh yeah.
And so that's been incredible to see. And so we haven't had a male director, which is great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we haven't had a male director. Honestly, no male directors have applied for the job.
Huh, rude.
So there's that.
Yeah.
But also, I don't know very many male directors that can show me the female gaze.
Right. Exactly.
In the way that we need to do it, right? I have a hard enough time with women not showing me the female gaze because we're so trained in showing the male gaze. That's everything that we've done is male gaze. All of our examples are male gaze. So very rarely do we show a female gaze, even as women. So, we haven't had very men apply for the job, and maybe one guy has. I know one agent has pitched one male director to us, but it's a time when we weren't hiring another director, and also I know their work because they did a movie for me many years ago.
Oh wow.
And he's not the right person for a Passionflix movie.
Fair.
But the other thing that we were talking about, so you asked for directors and writers, and then
your process of how a Passionflix movie gets made, a little bit start to finish, if you want to.
For the length of time.
Quickly summarize that, why it takes the length it does, and how quick it actually is.
Yeah. So we can write a script in about 2 months, sometimes 3, depending on from start to finish and how many notes the author has, because the author responds to it. And then it'll take us about 6 to 8 weeks to cast the movie, because we're many characters. You need a number of times to go through it and address things and meet with people, and then have like 3 meetings and 4 meetings, and sometimes it takes a week for people to get back to and read a script. Mm-hmm. And then so now we're at, so that's 2 months, the 3 months, 4, 5 months, right? 5 months just to get to day 1 of principal photography. And then the movie will take 3 to 6 weeks to film, depending on the movie, right? So most movies take 3 weeks to film because they're smaller movies. Gabriel's Inferno took 6.5 weeks to film. Yeah, a long time. 6.5 weeks to film that movie. And so now we're at, how many months is that? Like 6-7 months, right? So we're at 7 months, so 7 or 8 months, 7 months. And then once we finish the movie, I don't see a cut for about 2 to 3 weeks after that. That's when editorial comes in and they put the whole thing together.
Margin's already very speedy.
Good. That's very fast. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so let's imagine it's 3 weeks later. And so just from the day that you guys all know, hey, that's the last day of filming a movie, 3 weeks later, I get to see a cut. And then we have another maybe 7 weeks of editing after that. I see a cut, then she goes back and she does more, then we do back and forth. So let's say it's 7 to 10 weeks after we wrap the movie, keeping in mind any holidays. Everybody has holidays. So if it's over Christmas holidays, everybody else is taking holiday. So let's say 7 to 10 weeks. So we're at 2.5 months of editing. And then once we lock picture, then it's another 6 to 8 weeks of post-production sound. So that's another 2 months. So 4.5 months is generally speaking the length after we've wrapped principal photography. And then after we've finished that, we have to do QC, which means it's quality control to make sure that everything's there, which takes about a week. Yeah. And then I have to do closed captioning and subtitles, which takes 2.5 weeks. So that's why sometimes it's not done because we release it the next day. Closed captions are not done, subtitles are not done, and we can re-release it 2.5 weeks later because it's how long it takes. So ultimately, it takes about 5 to 5.5 months after we wrap principal photography to finish a movie. And that is super fast. Yeah. It's faster than most other people can make a movie. And that's us dedicated to this. Dedicated. So
and not even to mention the fact that because we have so many irons in the fire, you were directing Gabriel's Inferno while editing Dirty Sexy Saints. That's sometimes how fast it overlaps because we're trying as hard as we can to get the content out.
Yeah. So exactly. So while Dirty Sexy Saint, I was doing color timing. So we changed the color on a picture. I was doing color timing on Dirty Sexy Saint on the weekends in Rochester while filming in Syracuse. Mm-hmm. And then, and I would drive out to Rochester with my kids and stay in the Holiday Inn. And then my kids would be in the Rochester Institute of Technology playing with a babysitter that we found in Rochester in the Institute of Technology while I'm color timing, and then put the kids back in and then go and hang out at the hotel. And then I'd drive back, and then I would direct Gabriel's Inferno during the week. And then when we do color timing, then I would leave at 7 o'clock in the morning to fly to New York to do sound mixing on Dirty Sexy Saint Saturday and Sunday, and then I would fly back to Syracuse and I would direct during the week. So
Jesus.
really insane.
I know.
And then at the same time we were finishing The Will. So once I'd finished Dirty Sexy Saint, so then we're finishing The Will. So then on the weekends, I would shoot. So after I finished Dirty Sexy Saint, okay, that's done. Now I'm doing Gabriel's Inferno. Now I'm doing The Will, and also with Gabriel's Inferno. Then we had the premiere of Gabriel's Inferno in the middle of
Dirty Sexy Saint.
We had the premiere of Dirty Sexy Saint in the middle of directing Gabriel's Inferno. So then we finished directing, fly to New York, go to the premiere, yay! And
I watched The Will with Syracuse too. I forgot about that. So you were doing all of that at one time.
Yeah, and you were with me because you were with me working on Gabriel's Inferno that week, and then we had like a glass of wine or 3 after wrapping, and then had 2 hours of sleep, and then jumped on a plane and flew to New York to do the premiere of Dirty Sexy Saint, and then the next morning flew back to Syracuse to go back to directing on the Monday. And then that following weekend, I started doing all the editorial notes on The Will. So that's when I started watching The Will and then giving notes on The Will every week.
And then it was Christmas.
And then we went to Italy and filmed. Then it came back, and then it was Christmas. We got back on the 22nd of December. It was Christmas. And then I was like, hey, we should really do the Gabriel's Rapture right away. So 12 days later after the holiday, so January 14th or 15th, we started shooting Rapture.
Yeah, you hear that, folks? We've got Rapture on the way.
Yeah, we started shooting Rapture while I was shooting Rapture, I'm giving more notes on The Will, and then I finished shooting Rapture and left that day, flew to New York and did the sound mix for The Will. And then I flew home.
And you haven't finished all of Rapture. You've finished what you could film so far because it takes place over a bunch of seasons. Just so fans are not like, what? Rapture's already?
No, we filmed everything that took place in Toronto. So in the Toronto part of the book, Toronto and Selinsgrove in the winter. That's what we were able to shoot. So once she moves to Massachusetts, no, we haven't shot any of that. And we haven't filmed the beginning part of Rapture, which is in Italy, the Uffizi and his lecture and things like that. We haven't filmed that because it's in Italy and we can't go there.
Yeah, totally fair. So great. I think that was basically all of the questions I have. Allie, did you have anything else you wanted us to talk about? And if not, I would say if we have any last thoughts to share, we can share them and then we can sign off.
Yeah.
This was really fun. That's one of my final thoughts.
Yeah.
This was really fun. I really enjoyed it, and I look forward to doing many more podcasts. Maybe we can keep them down to 1 hour as opposed to almost 2.
This was definitely a tester, and we definitely talked a lot about Passionflix in general on Gabriel. So maybe with Margie's help, we can split it into 2 different cohesive videos.
You can release it just like this. I think it's great. We'll be fine. But it is. I look forward to us having more of these conversations and doing more of these podcasts and video podcasts, depending on how they work out. Zoom podcasts, and inviting some of our authors to join us.
Yes,
that would be really great. I know that Jody Ellen Malpas wants to join us on one, and I know that Emma Chase wants to join us. So I look forward to our next conversation where maybe we can talk about either This Man and the Protector, or Tangled and Royally Screwed, or anyone about that. Maybe Christy Bomberg wants to come on board and talk about Driven.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, I love it. We have all the possibilities.
Yeah,
it's gonna be great.
I love it.
So thanks everyone for listening and for watching, and please comment on the video below. We would love to hear any of the thoughts you have from what you heard today. And we would love to hear your thoughts on the Gabriel's Inferno book as well. And we're so excited to share it with you soon.
Yes, and look forward to getting your questions. If there's anything we didn't answer, and we'll address it next time.
Exactly. Perfect. All right. Thanks,
Thanks,
guys.
everyone.